Okay, what did you guys talk about?
I didn't talk about it.
Oh, okay, well then I thought you knew.
No, I do know that's.
Anyway, my 3 minutes. It's embarrassing. I think our town is in good shape despite a lot of problems. I also would like to see you concentrate on keeping Blenheim instead of having people, Eva, you say you go out there not as a commissioner and not as an expert, and then you say it's an obvious they've been grading into the creek. Well, you're not an engineer, you're not a backhoe operator, so you can, I'm talking here.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Okay.
Please do not speak about me.
Okay, it was brought up previously that there was an obvious earth movement out there by the ranch. Well, it wasn't brought by an expert, it was brought by a layman. So if you guys are gonna believe that testimony, I think you need to have expert testimony, not hearsay evidence. As far as SDG&E goes, I'm sorry for the people that live next to the substation or near the substation. I've worked for a utility for 36 years. I don't think there's ever been a PUC decision overturned at all, and you have a chance of 0 of overturning a unanimous PUC decision. So to spend $265,000 when we're driving over 6-inch potholes, I think is the wrong priority. And I'm sorry that for everything that's happened over there, but it's not gonna change. It's like us fighting San Onofre. That's a federal thing. Well, this is a PUC thing, and we're not gonna win it. So I don't wanna spend city money fighting a losing battle. We have other things to spend money on. Thank you.
I don't ordinarily comment on
No,
things
hardly
that are
ever.
said in front of this.
Have some respect.
However, just to set the record straight, I
Mike's
personally,
not working.
I personally observed the bank behind the wash racks prior to earth being shoved over the bank and after it being shoved over the bank.
Are you an
So
expert?
it's obvious that it happened. So what's
Are
going to
you
be
an
done
expert?
about it? I don't have to be an expert, all I need is 2 eyes to see that something happened.
Okay, we'll establish
And that's
something.
all I'm going to say is that earth was shoved over the bank. So
I prefer
that's,
something.
no, you're through, you had your 3 minutes. And I'm sorry you're through too. Jeff Vasquez.
Todd Speaker here. Good morning. I've been in town for almost 40 years. My business has been in town, and I live on Los Rios Street, and there's a project that's being considered on Los Rios right now that is so far outside of the scope of what the existing zoning permits. And I think just as a word to the wise future council, existing council members, that really we need to nip these things in the bud. Part of the problem, the confusion that we have on the developer's part in the community is that we're not sticking to our existing zoning. We're accepting applications that far exceed what anybody ever imagined, and it really is disrespectful to all the people who over the past 30 years have put input into this planning process and participated in government in order to maintain the quality of life that we have here. And so I would just encourage you as a council member to look at these projects and in advance and communicate to the staff your feelings about whether or not these projects will be accepted. Because I think in the end what happens is they go down the road like a freight train and get approved, and then it goes to, we get sued, and then the mitigation happens behind closed doors. And these things need to be out in the public. And the projects that we have right now, these 2 hotels, they are so significant to the effect that they will have on our community. What's happening in the Los Rios district, it will forever change our historic district. We're on the National Registry of Historic Places. I mean, this is a big deal. And destroying this with a 60,000 square foot shopping mall is inconsistent with what anybody has ever envisioned this property.
Now, if it's by the end of the day, I'll have this. Is there anyone that has something on their white sheet that is a great new idea? All right, let's start over here by the window. If you just stand and have a really bold voice.
Yeah, my name's Richard Toon. I live in the Capistrano Valley Mobile Park that is right adjacent to the Lower Roseanne property. And I would make a comment and a suggestion to our city fathers and the council that this proposal that is now being done behind closed doors receive some public input. I know there's a number of proposals for the sale of the Lower Roseanne property and also the Playhouse property. And I think there's probably consensus that once it's down to, say, 3 or 4 different proposals, that there's some vehicle for public input so that the citizens of this town can have some input in terms of what's best for the town and for the area there. Thank you.
Thank you. And,
I'm Bill Weiser, San Juan Trustee here. I have a suggestion how to deal with the SDG problem. Why don't we create some kind of a holding account, escrow account or something? Everybody pays his SDG bill in full every month, makes the check out SDG, but instead of mailing it to SDG&E, we mail it to a sort of an escrow account that holds the payment in good faith, to let them know that this is unfair to us. I know a lot of you people don't live near there, so you don't care. But I live near there, and I see all the people that are going to be held up in traffic for Camino County for a couple of years while they build this thing, which is full of emissions. I'm not going to talk any longer. I think you've got the point. But I think this is a day and age where the public riots, so to speak, demonstrations, are caught on by the press. And the SDG&E, I believe me, I'm a stockholder of SDG&E. I love smiling on their dividend checks 4 times a year. But I've written about this. I think it's totally wrong. And that's it. Thank you.
thank you. And Mr. Worthington.
I am wondering, with this crowd here, why don't we have this retreat at the community center? It's a taxpayer-owned center that can accommodate everybody. Right now, you have people here from the city, who govern the municipal code, and you have to ask yourself, you have an exit here, emergency exit here. You have an emergency exit there, you have a kitchen right next door. Why are all of these exits locked? Granted, Mark Bodenheimer can do an excellent job here at the door. However, you can't put a plant in front of the emergency exit. You can't put a podium in front of the emergency exit. You can't put signs, you can't put a table, you can't put a speaker, all in front of an emergency exit. Who at the city here is minding the store? You've got municipal codes that are simple and easy to follow that are not being followed for every single person in this room. And I have to, Derek, I'm going to pick on you. If there was a fire in here, Derek, what are you going to move to get out of here? The fact is you can't, because those doors don't open outward. They open inward. You don't have a chance, if there's a fire in this kitchen, of getting out of here. Why isn't the people in the city here who are in charge of this doing this? Why isn't the lieutenant calling the fire and saying, we have an issue here? Can we talk about this? As for SDG&E, I think an excellent idea was brought up about they have a monopoly in this town. Maybe it's time we need to change that monopoly.
Yeah.
If they are not going to do what we need to do, what we ask them to do, and use alternative J, then let's think about changing that.
All right.
As for Blenheim and the fill that was put in there, we all have eyes, we can all see that that fill was illegal. That the Google Maps show from 2010 to 2016, that fill was added. The city was under an order from the San Diego Regional Water Quality Board, and I'm going to guess that they're going to come under an order from the Department of Fish and Game that you cannot add fill to the creek. Simply said, yet the city has done it.
Thank you. Are there any other concrete ideas or things that would improve our city or how it works? Yes.
Kind of a long ways back there, so I'll just speak up. Oh, thank you. First of all, this is Moira Dunwire, and I'm from San Juan. Regarding the equestrian community and Blenheim, I don't think there is anybody in this whole entire room that would want to get rid of our equestrian community. It's good for business, it's good for us, and we just wouldn't want to do that. This kind of shouting back and forth at each other, I think we're missing the basic point. I have a certificate in hazardous materials management from UCI, a 2-year certificate. I worked in a lab for many, many years. 8 years at Beckman Coulter in a lab. There are a lot of regulations that businesses have to follow. I think the real question here is the business that's running at Blenheim following regulations? I think that's the question. We've got to stop this pointing fingers back and forth. It's just a question of following regulations. And I think they really want to do that. So I think we just need to make sure that people are informed and understand the regulations, because I'm sure they would want to follow those regulations.
Thank you. Mark?
Here's just kind of a blue sky idea, but I'll throw it out there anyway. The city, I understand, currently contracts with the County of Orange for animal care and such, but they've been sued for bad treatment of animals and things of this nature. What would happen if the city developed its own animal care facility funded by agreements with other cities who aren't contracting with the City of Mission Viejo? Residents would be able to go locally. We would have maybe a world-class facility, which could also be a revenue center. It could work in a very nice way, something to throw out there.
One thing I just would point out is that there is a world-class facility being built in Irvine.
Again,
The new county facility. You're quite right about the old county facility.
just
So
an
it is
idea.
being replaced. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I talked to some people this week who couldn't be here, so I'm voicing their things. Michelle Lawrence Adams, homelessness in our town. And I know that can't be probably a big priority for the city staff to work on, but whichever council member interacting the most with Lisa Bartlett, it has to be a county level issue, but she wanted that to be brought up. Also, this is just an engineering, this is a George thing that he can fix. The Best Western manager has said to me that there's a new left turn coming east on Ortega Highway that they can't turn left anymore into his hotel. And he says, hearsay, the police are sitting there trapping kind of all our tourists that are staying at the Best Western and getting tickets. And he's asked if we look into that.
Thank you. That's an important thing to do. All right. I'm gonna add a couple of things. From a gentleman I spoke with this morning, and before I came here. And his idea was, because we know that overnight parking has been a problem in our town, and his idea was to have parking lots where you could pay to park your car overnight. in this town, and he said he would be most happy to do that, to pay and use a parking lot that's normally not used, and, you know, maybe on a monthly basis. So that's one idea. A couple of other ideas came from Roy Nunn, who I think most of us know as being one of the most renowned architects in this area. And he said, if I can be so bold to suggest it, I think the city should do a temporary restriping of Ortega to determine the feasibility of diagonal parking in front of the Mission. You could use temporary tape, black over the existing green for the new. If this works, then try Camino Capistrano. And he thinks this is a good way to try out some of the ideas that have been put forth. Actually, it was in our downtown master plan. And that's one of his ideas. His other idea was about the hotel side. He just wished that they would put up story poles or something like a movie set at the hotel site by the Judge Egan House. Says, I think you may be shocked by its impact, but anyway, that's his words, not mine. Are there any other concrete ideas? Last one, Eva.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I have an idea. It's a small thing, but it adds to the pot. We're a tourism town, and something to encourage tourism in our town. We have a lot of bike riders that come, especially to our downtown. It's a lovely place, a lovely destination. But there's no place for them to park their bikes. They end up parking their bikes on the picket fence around the Hidden House. There is currently a lot that is underutilized. It is between the Historical Museum and the Hidden House. I believe it is owned by the nursery. And it would be a prime bicycle lot. We could investigate purchasing that from them. All that's on there now is weeds and a sign directing their nursery. The sign could certainly be retained, but other than that, the land is unused. And I would suggest that we utilize it to encourage tourism and also bicycle ridership to our downtown.
So looking for a bicycle lot. Good news. Thank you. All right, now bringing us back to the council, I'm going to ask you to look at the ideas that you may have put down, and before I ask you about them, put some markings in front of them. And the first would be A. And A would be for items that have no cost. Okay. Which is hard to find because even if staff is studying something, it may not seem like there's cost, but there is cost. So, but if there's an item that involves no staff time, no other work time, then B would be items that are something we ought to think about long term. And then C would be items for city foundation funding, items that might be appropriate to be funded by our city foundation. And then D would be items that would need to be funded by the city. And next to that D, if it's something that's a minimum cost, put a dot, a big dot. If it's something that's a major cost, put a big star. And then the last category, E, would be something that would be appropriate for developer funding. Because sometimes in our developer agreements that we put together, we have developer may fund a particular thing. So if you could do that, just take a moment and do that, and then I'll begin calling on our council members to get their ideas of things they'd like to see in our town. So, Derek, I know you have a list, and so I'm going to ask you to be first.
I'm a little confused. We're on agenda item
One.
1. How is 1 different from 3?
One is delineating and expressing our visions. 3 is beginning to have discussion and set some priorities as to what among our ideas are ones that we should pursue for now or for later or not at all.
Okay. Why don't,
It's really very similar to the way, we did things when you held your retreat.
okay, I didn't know this, but, why don't, I'd like to hear from Pam. Pam, why don't you go?
Okay, so,
Hold on.
it was my understanding that the facilitator here was to be Ben and not a school, it was not like we're in some school setting and we've got this school teacher that's telling us what to do. So this format was not agreed to and it is not conducive, in my opinion, to a free flow of thought by the council. So that's my input.
Is there anyone else who would like to share some concrete ideas?
I'd like to make a motion to have Ben facilitate this meeting.
I'll second that motion.
So can I speak since we're, okay, so I'm just going to stand and skip the mic. So I want to, number one, thank everybody for coming this morning. It's part of my vision, I would suggest, and I get this piece of things. We should have put a little more time into the agenda.